I'm Jeff Slakey, Spencer Hughes, morning.
Good morning.
Got a great guest in studio. The Sheriff Sit Down this week and every week brought to you by our Community Credit Union, Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. Good morning. Sir. Good to see you here. I want to talk a little bit about the buyback of the bump stocks that are going on. I know it's a State Patrol program that's happening, and so Mason County Sheriffs are not involved in kind of the main receiving of these, but when it comes to those types of programs that happen, and there undoubtedly people get confused as to which department or which program is doing this. How does something like that work? If somebody had a bump stock, they bring it to you, what are the next steps there?
Well, if we had that in, we take it if they relinquish that to us with a signature or something, and then we have to contact the patrol. Is we haven't received any fundings to do the buyback. It's all being done through the state.
And they're going up to Tacoma. How often do they do these types of buyback programs, and do you think they're effective?
Well, I was actually listening to you guys on the way in this morning talk about somebody turned one in, and it sounded like they didn't accept it because it was homemade or something.
Is that what you had? It came off
like
a 3D printed.
I don't know if that's something you admit to law enforcement.
Well,
if
you look at what a 3D printer can do, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I would think that if it worked, that at some point they would qualify that, I would imagine, to take that back. I mean, if the whole point is to take something like that off the street that's been determined to be not safe, I would think they would take that back. I'm sure that the patrol will take into consideration what that is and work on that.
It was pretty interesting to see it because in the video, the guy does show it. You can see it on the video that Jeff Chu did. Yeah. It doesn't look like the traditional ones you buy from the store with the whole, the back end of what goes into your shoulder. But it definitely was, it was 3D printed.
Yeah, and those things are amazing. I've got to see somebody create something on a 3D printer. It's amazing to watch that work. You know, always the thing to me is it reminds me of Rosanna Dana from Saturday Night Live. It's not one thing, it's another. And as soon as you get this taken care of, somebody will come out with something else.
Sure.
And it just seems like you're always, no matter what we do, we look back at the deal with drug issues over the years. Cocaine came in, everybody worked on cocaine went out. And then you had, methamphetamine out. Oxycontin out, or working on it, and now you're looking at, other things coming back. So
I can imagine that you, as a law enforcement and on the front lines, you have seen these ebb and flow as over the years as they come in, and you guys probably have some more firsthand knowledge as to perhaps the reasons why people choose this path. Are you talked to a lot when it comes to the adjudication of these laws? Do they bring in law enforcement professionals oftentimes to the state capitol and talk about what you guys are seeing, why people are deciding to use cocaine as
on the substance abuse issues and things?
Just anything like that.
Yeah, some of it. I mean, obviously there's been a few things recently that law enforcement wasn't consulted the way they should be on, and it's gone sideways on us. But if you look at 940, how both sides were brought in on that, and both sides kind of, worked on that issue, and then it turned out not working out for either way, and it went back, and it's been modified and taken care of. Sometimes, yes. I mean, things are just, they're kind of cyclical, and what always concerns me is years ago, whether you agree with it or whether you don't agree with it, we had a program where we had officers in schools, a DARE program, and I did that for years for Thurston County. And during those times, we saw a decrease in those issues. We also saw a decrease in a lot of other problems because now everybody's after school resource officers. Well, we were DARE officers. Again, same thing. You're in the building. And as soon as everything was going well, we don't need that anymore. Pull them out of the program. And the numbers start climbing again. I worked in the gang unit for many, many years at Thurston County in the 90s when the gang thing got real popular up here.
Sure.
And we worked on that, and we had lots of cases with that. And as soon as we got those numbers down to where it was real manageable and everything was moving along, we don't need that program anymore. And we knew that as soon as you pull that away, it's going to start creeping. And those things seem to come back with a vengeance. I mean, it goes around.
Well, it's kind of like taking antibiotics. If you don't take the full freight of the dosage, it comes back even stronger. So
look at the measles.
Look at the measles.
Really? I mean,
so when it comes to DARE, and that was a huge program in the 80s, early 90s. Nancy Reagan was a big spearhead on that one. What was the reasoning for it to start to go away? Was it just folks with the purse strings felt that the problem had started to been fixed, or what?
Well,
I mean, you were right there. You were
I'll tell you, I was in it for years,
Yeah.
and it was the benefits, maybe even outside of what we were there to do, that were it was that reaching out to be a part of your community. You guys probably weren't here at the time, but Deputy T.R. Rankin was a Mason County deputy, and I was at Thurston, and we had a Thursday night program. On Thursday nights, all the kids came to Skateland and went skating, and there's a whole bunch of law enforcement there, and we had people donating food. It was a neat thing for kids to do, something to look forward to. They had contact with a lot of positive people. It was a fantastic opportunity when Deputy Hutnick and Deputy Counts and I were in the DARE program for Thurston, and there was DARE officers from each. We had programs where we joined the schools. We'd go on field trips with the kids to schools, to different places. We'd be at the schools for evening programs. I mean, it was everything I think now what they want SROs to be, we're trying to do again. But we were taking an active role in the school with approved training programs over there.
Was there an event that changed it to be less, the officers less in the schools, and so now we're back?
Yeah, there was a number of things. I don't think it's any one thing. I think first of all, it came out of Los Angeles as the new deal, and there was a lot of money put towards that. During the administrations back then, a lot of money put into that, and as you know, the money kind of starts to find another area, something else new comes on, or something else is bigger, and it started to drain down a little bit. And then our economy was not doing well in there, and then probably for most of us, I wasn't at that level yet that I am now, but during that time, I remember when I first started with the other agency, we had loads of law enforcement. And the crime numbers were down. Well, people saw that, well, if we can take some more out of that and put it over here, they just started dwindling law enforcement down. And those programs like that were the first to go. And we never recovered it.
We talk a lot about early childhood education and childhood food and nutrition and things like that for the preventative as it goes down the line. A lot of these programs seem like they're preventative in their nature. And so it helps to, years from now, you remember that DARE officer,
right,
or you remember the person that you were able to reach out to and you felt a good connection with. They weren't there to, they're not there to arrest you. They're there to teach you and help you grow as a person. And then if a problem comes forward, they reach out to them.
It's so priceless, Jeff. And I would say it's not just a DARE officer. You look at any public school teacher. I did that for a while too. Yeah. And you would not believe how many times years later you'll be somewhere, be out of state, out of country, and some young woman or young man or mom or dad walks up to you and starts talking to you, and he says, I was in your DARE class at Rainier Elementary School with you and Deputy Hutnick. And we call each other. It's been amazing with Deputy Counts and I and Deputy Rankin, how many times I've been somewhere or been on something pretty, just kind of a serious scene, and somebody walks up and hands you a piece of information that you need because they know you and they can trust you.
Sure.
And they'll say, please say hi to Deputy Hutnick for me. And they're all grown up now. I would say the same thing I taught school, and I always use this. I'm very, very fortunate. I had a lot of kids go on to do great stuff and great citizens. And I had a number of kids that I had that went through and have all become doctors. And then when it gets to the point later in your life when that physician is the one working on your family, you think about what kind of a kid they were when you had them in school, and you can almost look back and say, I could have predicted that one.
Yeah.
A number of kids now in different positions.
Just a thought on the going back to the bump stock. I would think, just looking at the psychology of somebody who turns these in, or the buyback program, the person who has any potential for using it in a crime or some horrible event is not the same person who's going to want to get a few bucks for it or turn it back in. Or these, I remember years ago being on the air and talking about when they were giving Britney Spears tickets away in exchange for guns, and I'm thinking, the bad guy's not going. He doesn't want to go see Britney Spears. He's not going to turn in his means of, you know what I mean, like the tools of the trade, if you will, for concert tickets to Britney Spears. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, it's getting him off the street, but is there any real expectation that a bad guy who would use this in a mass shooting is going to say, okay, I watched the news, these things are banned now, I better turn mine in? I mean, I just don't believe that they turn them in.
To me, it's kind of like the person that goes out and pays for their insurance and gets their driver's license, and most of the time they try to do the right thing, as opposed to the person that is driving around without a license and they don't have their insurance.
Yeah.
Are they going to comply anyway?
Yeah.
Only if they have to. or only if they're caught. Most people, they're trying to do the right thing, are going to do the right thing in most areas of their life. If they're secreting those kind of things, I'm guessing that sometimes, I'm just saying this in general about a lot of different things, not necessarily bump stocks, but, generally the people that come into our office that are putting in for their permit and to do everything the way they should, whether it's wood cutting or firearms or shellfish harvesting or whatever it is, if they're buying their licenses and doing the right things, it's generally not the person you've got to worry about generally.
Sure.
It's the one that's not coming in and
Right.
getting their hunting license and doing those kind of things. Generally, that's the person you've got to worry about.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think that's that way across
Sure,
the
sure.
board.
No,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, nice talking with
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for
Great
coming
to
in.
see you.